The venue was my carefully curated hell. The guests were the audience to my carefully orchestrated end. And my husband's anniversary toast was a carefully prepared social guillotine. I was the only one who knew my neck. Wasn't in it the crystal? Facets of the chandelier scattered, light like diamond dust over the assembled guests. Linen tablecloths, stiff and pristine, bore the weight of laughter. The soft clink of fine porcelain and the low, warm hum of decades-old affection. To any observer, the scene in the private dining room of Le Jardin Secret was one of unassailable perfection. A 20th wedding anniversary, a celebration of endurance, of love sculpted by time. Anastasia Vartan Anna to those who loved her, which she believed until that very hour. Was every one in the room stood momentarily apart? Near the grand piano, silent in the corner, she smoothed the jade silk of her dress, a column of cool elegance against the warm, wood-paneled walls. At 48, she carried her beauty not with the frantic energy of her youth, but with a serene ownership. The slight silver threads in her dark, coiled hair were not concessions, but accents. Her eyes, the color of rich Turkish coffee, scanned the room, absorbing the tableau. There was her sister, Lena, cheeks flushed with champagne, telling an animated story to a circle of friends. There were their children, Sophia and Mark, now 19 and 17, looking both proud and slightly embarrassed by the familial fuss. Mark caught her eye and gave a lopsided, affectionate grin that so resembled his father's it made her heart clutch. Or what she thought was her heart. Perhaps it was just memory, flexing a tired muscle. And there, at the center of the universe he so often commanded, was David Vartan, her husband of 20 years. He held a tumbler of amber whiskey, holding court with a group of his golf buddies and their wives. His laugh-a, booming, confident sound cut through the music. At 50, he was in his prime, or so society and his personal trainer told him. His hair was expertly salted, his tan a testament to long weekends at the club. He was the picture of successful contentment, the architect of this beautiful life. Our beautiful life. Anna corrected herself silently, taking a slow sip of mineral water. The thought felt practiced. A well-worn affirmation. The restaurant was indeed filled with family and friends, faces that had witnessed their journey from the dizzying, passionate early years in the modest apartments, through the sleep-deprived chaos of infancy, the skin-knee playdates, the adolescent storms, to this plateau of apparent stability. They were all here, smiling, joyful. They toasted to the perfect couple, to love that grows stronger, to 20 more years. Anna had smiled, nodded, raised her glass each time. She had believed the script, or had convinced herself she did, because the alternative, examining the quiet, hollow spaces that had begun to echo in the mansion of their marriage, was a terrifying prospect. The house. It always came back to the house, not just a structure, but the third silent partner in their union. This sprawling, modernist cliffside home in Pacific Heights, with its floor-to-ceiling windows framing the brutal, beautiful expanse of the San Francisco Bay. Everyone assumed it was David's, a trophy procured by the triumphant hedge fund manager for his beautiful family. It was a logical assumption. David's career had been a meteorite, his bonuses legendary. He wore his wealth with a casual, offhanded arrogance. His club, his car, his connections. He had never explicitly said the house was his. He simply acted as its undisputed king. He chose the architects for the renovations, the landscape designer for the terraced gardens. He filled the garage with his automotive treasures. He held his important, loud parties in the great room, where the sound of his voice would bounce off the polished concrete floors. Anna's domain had been the softer spaces, the library nook, the sun-drenched breakfast room, the hidden garden courtyard where she grew roses. Her earnings as a sought-after interior designer significant, but always presented as her creative little Javi had been seamlessly folded into the household, into the children's trusts, into the vacations. David managed the big picture, but the deed, locked in a safety deposit box along with her grandmother's pearls and the children's umbilical cord clips, told a different story, a story from a different Anna. 22 years ago, a 26-year-old Anna Petrova, not yet Vartan, had stood on a raw, windy plot of land. She had just sold her first major design project, a boutique hotel in Napa, that had garnered a magazine spread. The check, a number that made her knees weak, was in her hand. Her mentor, a formidable older woman named Eleanor, had looked her in the eye. Men come and go, darling. They are delightful, but ephemeral. Land is stubborn. It stays. Buy yourself a foundation before you build yourself a life with someone. David, then a dazzling, ambitious young banker with a movie star smile and promises that tasted like forever, had laughed when she told him, "Why tie up your capital, my brilliant girl? Let me handle the investments. You focus on creating beauty." But Anna, the daughter of a single mother who had scraped and saved, and never had a key that was entirely her own, had been stubborn. She'd bought the land. She'd poured every subsequent hobby paycheck into it, working with a then unknown architect to design not a showpiece, but a sanctuary, a home with a soul. She'd moved in a year before David, with a whirlwind of romance, had proposed on that very cliff edge, the city lights glittering below like a stolen necklace. When they married, it was simply home. Her name never left the deed. It was an unspoken secret, a forgotten detail in the thrilling narrative of them. Now, watching David revel in the reflected glory of his life in her house, Anna felt a familiar, faint pang. Not of anger, but of a profound, lonely irony. She had thought this day, this 20th anniversary, would be a turning point, a rekindling. She had planned this party not just as a celebration, but as a kind of offering. See all we have built? The love, the family, the friends, the beauty. Let us remember. Let us begin again. She took a deep breath, the scent of gardenias from the centerpieces, mingling with the aroma of slow-roasted lamb. She would go to him. She would slip her hand into his, feel the familiar broad palm, and for a moment believe the fairy tale again. But David was picking up his fork, tapping it gently against his crystal water glass. The clear, high, tin, tin, tin cut through the conversations. A hush rippled outwards. He was smiling, that practiced, charming smile that promised good news. He stepped into the center of the room, a natural performer claiming his stage. "Everyone, if I could have your attention for just a moment," he began, his voice a warm, confident baritone. "First, I want to thank you all for being here. It means the world to Anna and me to have our favorite people with us on this special night." Polite, affectionate smiles all around. Lena gave Anna an encouraging wink. David's gaze swept the room, lingering on a few of his friends, whose expressions seemed oddly expectant. Anna felt a flutter of unease. This wasn't in the plan. The toast was to be later, after dessert. 20 years, David continued, shaking his head in mock disbelief. 20 years of, well, of everything. A chuckle from the crowd. "It's a long time. A lifetime, really." He paused, sipping his whiskey, letting the moment build. Anna's unease sharpened. His tone had a strange metallic edge beneath the warmth. "They say marriage is a journey, and on a journey, sometimes you look out the window and realize the scenery. Well, it hasn't changed in a while. You start to wonder what other roads look like." The room was growing quieter. The playful banter had died. Sophia, sensitive and intuitive, was frowning, her eyes fixed on her father. David's smirk widened. He looked directly at Anna now, but his eyes didn't have their usual teasing glint. They were flat, like stones. 20 years is enough, don't you think, Anna? A good run, but I find I'm ready for change of scenery. I want someone younger now. A vacuum of silence swallowed the room. It was so absolute, Anna could hear the hum of the refrigerator in the distant kitchen. She saw mouths fall open. Lena's hand flew to her lips. Mark's face was a mask of stunned confusion. David gave a short, barking laugh. Oh, come on, everyone. It's a joke. A little anniversary shocker. But his eyes on Anna held no mirth. They were cold, final. He took another sip, his gaze never leaving hers, and delivered the punchline, the words dropping into the silent room like stones into a still pond. You need to vacate the house by tomorrow morning. I'll have the papers drawn up. Time for a fresh start for both of us. The smirk remained, a grotesque mask. He was serious. He had assumed, in his breathtaking arrogance, that the house, the foundation of her life, was his to bestow and reclaim. He was evicting her on their anniversary, in front of their children, their family, their world. This was not a discussion, not a private, painful confession. It was a public execution. He was not just leaving her. He was attempting to annihilate her position, her security, her very home, with a few casually brutal sentences. The shock was a physical thing, a bolt of ice shooting down her spine, freezing her in place. She saw the room through a distorted lens, the grotesque carnival masks of shock on her friends, faces, the dawning horror on her sisters, the utter devastation on Sophiasa, child witnessing the murder of her family myth. She saw David's golf buddies shifting uncomfortably. One of their wives looked ready to be sick, and in that crystalline, suspended second, a lifetime flash. Not the good memories, but the small erosions, the dismissals of her opinions, the way he'd introduced her as my wife, but never by her professional name. The forgotten anniversaries that were always her fault for being too sentimental. The younger, blonde interns at his office, Christmas parties who always seemed to laugh a little too loudly at his jokes, the late nights at the office that carried the faint, foreign scent of a different perfume. She had papered over these cracks with excuses, with busyness, with the sheer architectural effort of maintaining the beautiful facade. She had told herself it was the cost of a great man, a great life. Now, the facade lay in glittering shards at her feet. The cold shock began to recede, not into heat, but into a profound, absolute clarity. It was the clarity of a surgeon just before the incision, the clarity of an artist facing a blank canvas, knowing exactly what must be created. The house was hers. He had just handed her the guillotine blade, believing it was for her neck. The paralysis broke. Anna felt a strange, detached calm settle over her. She watched her own hand, steady as granite, place her water glass on the piano. She walked, the jade silk whispering, to the small lectern where the microphone stood. Her heels clicked on the parquet, a deliberate metronome in the silence. She took the microphone. The feedback squealed once, a jarring sound that made everyone flinch. She tapped it, her eyes never leaving David's. His smirk had faltered, replaced by a flicker of confusion. He'd expected tears, hysterics, a scene he could later lament as female emotion. He had not expected the serene, slow walk to the podium. She leaned into the microphone, her voice, when it came, was not the shaken tremble he anticipated. It was clear, melodic, and carried to every corner of the dead silent room. "Wow," she said, a small, genuine smile touching her lips. "What a wonderful surprise. David, truly, you've always had a flair for the dramatic." A confused titter ran through the crowd. Was this part of the joke? A scripted bit? Anna's smile widened. She looked out at the sea of bewildered faces, her gaze softening as it found her children. She gave them an almost imperceptible nod, a promise. Then she turned her full attention back to her husband. "But you forgot one thing, darling." She paused, letting the suspense build. David's face was beginning to pale, the whiskey flush receding. "This house," she said, enunciating every word with diamond precision, "the one you so generously offered to let me vacate, is in my name. I bought the land, and I built that house with every penny I earned from my little design hobby. Before I ever said I do to you. The deed has never borne any name but mine." The silence turned electric. David's jaw went slack. His glass tipped slightly, a few drops of whiskey staining his cuff. "So," Anna continued, her tone conversational, almost friendly, "here's what's going to happen. You will pack your bags tonight, I think is best. You will leave my house tomorrow morning. And that younger woman you're so eager to entertain?" She leaned forward, her voice dropping to an intimate, devastating murmur, amplified by the microphone. "To give her my regards. And be sure to tell her you no longer have a place to live either. I hear that hotels are lovely this time of year." She straightened up, her eyes sweeping the room again. She saw the transformation. Shock was melting into something else. On Lena's face, a fierce, proud joy was breaking through like sunrise. On the faces of her female friends, a dawning, incredulous solidarity. On David's friends, a mixture of embarrassment and a kind of horrified respect. David's face was now the color of parchment. He looked like a man who had confidently pulled a trigger only to find the barrel. Pointed at his own chest, he opened his mouth, but no sound came out. The architect of his own humiliation stood frozen in the ruins of his coup. Then, from the back of the room, a single, sharp clap. It was Eleanor, her ancient mentor, who had insisted on coming. Then another. Lena joined in, tears streaming down her smiling face. Then Mark, a furious, proud energy in his applause. Then Sophia, through her own tears. And then a wave, a roaring tsunami of applause and cheers that filled the room. Louder and more joyful than any toast that had been offered all night. It was the sound of an audience applauding a heroine, not a victim. Anna let it wash over her. She felt the vibration in her feet, in her bones. She picked up a freshly poured flute of champagne from a passing waiter's tray. She raised it high, the bubbles catching the light like 1,000 tiny celebrations. "A toast," she said, her voice strong and clear once more. The room quieted to hear her. She looked at her children, her sister, her true friends. She did not look at David. "Two surprises, to foundations that hold, and to my new life." She drank. The champagne was dry, crisp, and tasted like freedom. Anna let it wash over her. She felt the vibration in her feet, in her bones. She picked up a freshly poured flute of champagne from a passing waiter's tray. She raised it high, the bubbles catching the light like 1,000 tiny celebrations. "A toast," she said, her voice strong and clear once more. The room quieted to hear her. She looked at her children, her sister, her true friends. She did not look at David. "Two surprises, to foundations that hold, and to my new life." She drank. The champagne was dry, crisp, and tasted like freedom. The party did not so much, and to shatter into 1,000 glittering fragments. In the immediate chaotic aftermath, Anna moved with a preternatural calm. She was the eye of the hurricane she had just unleashed. David stood rooted to the spot, a monument to evaporated arrogance. One of his friends, Tom, finally approached him, clapping a hand on his shoulder, leaning in to mutter something. David shook it off violently, his eyes wild, finally finding their focus. A venomous, disbelieving stare aimed at Anna. He took a step toward her, but was intercepted by the mentor D, a large, impeccably courteous, man who had witnessed the entire drama and now positioned himself subtly between them. "Mr. Vartan," the Matterdy said, his voice low but firm. "Perhaps some air?" Anna turned her back. Her work was here. Sophia was sobbing in Lena's arms, great heaving cries of betrayal and shock. Mark was pacing, his young face a storm of anger and confusion. "Kids," Anna said, her voice gentle but unwavering. They both looked at her, their anchors in a world suddenly unmoored. "Listen to me. This is not your fault. Nothing about this is your fault. Your father has made a series of terrible choices, but we're okay. I am okay. And our home is still our home. But he, in front of everyone," Sophia choked out. "I know," Anna said, pulling her daughter into a tight embrace. "It was cruel. It was meant to be, but he failed." She looked at Mark over Sophia's shoulder. "We're going home. Together. Aunt Lena is coming with us." She handled the dispersing guests with a grace that felt borrowed from some regal, ancient part of herself. She accepted hugs, squeezed hands, deflected the frantic, whispered questions with a quiet, "Thank you for being here. I'll be in touch." Eleanor, leaning on her cane, pressed a bony, strong hand against Anna's cheek. "You are magnificent, child." The foundation held. Now rebuild. The drive home was silent, but for Sophia's occasional sniffles. Lena sat in the passenger seat, her hand on Anna's knee, a steadying pressure. Anna drove, her eyes on the road, the city lights blurring. The clarity of the restaurant was giving way to a deep, trembling fatigue, but beneath it, a solid core remained. She had spoken truth to Paua, and the Paua had crumbled. They arrived at the house, its clean lines and glowing windows. Her sanctuary looked different. It was no longer just a home. It was a fortress she had successfully defended. As they entered, they found David's suitcases, the expensive, glossy ones she had bought him for his 50th already, by the door, haphazardly packed. He must have called an assistant or one of his sycophantic friends. The act of packing, of his hurried, furtive removal, was more telling than any apology could be. He was in his study, the room that had always been his sanctum, pouring a very large drink. The air was thick with the smell of his cologne and failure. "The children are home," Ina said from the doorway, her voice devoid of emotion. "You will not speak to them tonight unless they wish to speak to you. You will take your things and you will go. Now." He turned, his face a wreck of conflicting emotions. Fury, shame, pleading. "Aina, for God's sake." It was a joke that went too far. "You humiliated me." The audacity was breathtaking. "I humiliated you?" Her calm fractured for a second, a hairline crack through which white-hot anger flashed. "You tried to publicly discard me and dispossess me in one sentence. You mentioned a younger woman to our daughter. You do not get to speak of humiliation, David. You get to leave. Your key, please." She held out her hand. He stared at it as if it were a poisonous snake. "This is my home." He blustered, the last vestige of his performance. "It is legally and spiritually mine," she corrected. "The key." Defeated, he fumbled in his pocket and slapped the heavy brass key into her palm. The sound was final. "Where am I supposed to go?" "That," Anna said, closing her fingers around the cold metal, "is no longer my concern. I suggest you call the younger woman. See if her hospitality extends to a man with 2 suitcases and a bruised ego. You have 30 minutes." She turned and walked away, closing the study door softly behind her. She went to the great room where Lena had made tea. Sophia and Mark were huddled on the vast sectional, looking small and lost. Anna sat between them, pulling them close. "This is our home," she repeated, her voice firm. "Nothing changes that. We will be okay. We will be better than okay that night." After Lena had settled in the guest room and the children, exhausted, had fallen into fitful sleep, Anna did not go to her bedroom, the room she had. Shared with David, she went to her library, to the deep armchair by the window that looked out over the sleeping bay. She wrapped herself in a cashmere blanket and let the tears come. They were not tears of grief for the lost marriage. That grief had been processed in silent installments over years. These were tears of shock, of release, of the sheer, overwhelming tidal force of what she had done. She had not just responded. She had dismantled him with his own weapon. In the quiet dark, she trembled. The adrenaline was gone, leaving her hollowed out. But the core, the foundation, remained. She slept there in the chair as the first gray light of dawn touched the water. The days that followed were a strange, suspended reality. David, true to her prediction, began to beg. The texts and calls started the next morning. A torrent of frantic, shifting messages. "Anna, please. I was an idiot. I had too much to drink. I don't know what came over me. You have to let me explain. It's not what you think. We have 20 years. 20 years. You can't throw that away over a stupid mistake. Think of the children. You're destroying our family. I'll get counseling. I'll do anything. Just let me come home. I am sorry. I'm so sorry. You're the only woman I've ever loved." She read them with a detached curiosity, as if studying the behavior of a captured insect. The narcissist's prayer, she realized, that didn't happen. And if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was, it's not a big deal. And if it is, it's not my fault. And if it hits, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you deserved it. He cycled through all stages, sometimes in a single paragraph. She did not block him. She let the messages pile up, a digital monument to his panic. She showed a select few to Lena and to her lawyer, a razor-sharp woman named Miriam Cohen, whom Eleanor had recommended. "Good," Miriam said, scanning the pleas. "Shows consciousness of guilt. Also shows harassment if we need it. Save everything." The children were her primary concern. Sophia was fragile, oscillating between rage at her father and a desperate, heartbreaking hope for reconciliation. Maybe he really is sorry, Mom. Maybe he's sick. Mark retreated into a sullen, protective shell, spending hours in the gym or on long runs. Anna arranged for a family therapist and went herself. She needed to learn the language of this new disaster, to guide them through the wreckage without letting her own justifiable anger poison their relationship with their father, a man who was flawed, cruel, but still their dad. She also had to navigate the social fallout. The story, of course, had spread like wildfire through their circles. Anna was now a figure of fascination, a heroine to some, a cautionary tale to others, a threat to the comfortable. Unexamined marriages of many, she received a flood of messages. The genuine ones, she answered with brief thanks. The morbidly curious ones she ignored. The few who dared to suggest she'd forgive for the sake of the family received a cool, polite response that effectively ended the friendship. Lena moved in for a few weeks, a buffer and a blessing. She fielded calls, cooked comfort food, and provided the kind of unconditional, sisterly solidarity that required no explanation. "I always thought he was a pompous ass," she confessed one night over wine, "but I never thought he'd be this stupid. Thank God you kept that deed." The house, her constant, became both a refuge and a project. She began tentatively to reclaim it. She hired movers to take David's imposing, cold desk from the study. She boxed up his trophies, his golf memorabilia, the expensive art he'd chosen that she'd never liked. She didn't throw them away, they went into storage. For the children, or for him to collect later. But she erased his dominance from the space. The study became a light-filled reading room. She repainted the bedroom, choosing a soft, calming lavender, and bought a magnificent new bed for one. She also, upon Miriam's advice, changed the locks and installed a new security system. David's name was removed from all household accounts. She met with her financial advisor, separating the tangled vines of their finances with surgical precision. Her own business, Anastasia Designs, which had always been successful, now flourished with a new, fierce attention. The story, in a sanitized version, had made the rounds, and a wave of new clientele women of a certain age, women with their own resources and quiet battles, sought her out. They wanted spaces that reflected their strength, their taste, their stories. Anna poured herself into the work, finding a profound satisfaction in building beauty on her own terms. A month after the party, David's lawyer contacted Miriam. The tone was now conciliatory, stripped of bluster. David was not pursuing any claim to the premarital. Provenance was unassailable. The divorce proceedings began, with Anna in a position of immense strength. She was not interested in vindictiveness, only in fairness and security for herself and the children. The settlement reflected that a clean division of marital assets, generous but not punitive child support, and a clause ensuring that children's tuition and living expenses were covered. She did not ask for alimony. She had her home and her thriving business. She wanted nothing from him that she could provide for herself. The day the divorce was finalized, 9 months after the anniversary party, Anna went for a long walk along the coastal trail. The wind was brisk, scouring. She felt light, unburdened. The legal tie was cut. The emotional one had been severed that night at Le Jardin Secret. She thought of David. He was living in a luxury apartment downtown, a sterile, temporary-looking place according to the kids. The younger woman, a 28-year-old associate at his firm, had lasted about 6 weeks after the news broke that he was not. In fact, the owner of a Pacific Heights mansion. The relationship had fizzled under the weight of reality and ridicule. He was alone, adrift, and by all accounts miserable. The man who had wanted a new, shiny life had been left with the hollow shell of his old one. Sometimes the ones who try to surprise, you end up getting the biggest surprise themselves. Dotted is a year to the day after the party. Anna stands on the terrace of her house, watching the sunset bleed into the Pacific. The sky is a masterpiece of violet and gold. She is alone, but the aloneness is no longer a void. It is a spaciousness filled with possibility. She is not the same woman. The serenity she now wears is not a performance, but an earned peace. The lines on her face have deepened, but they trace smiles of genuine laughter, not the stretched fabric of a forced grin. The children are healing. Sophia, at university, is studying psychology with a fierce focus. I want to understand her. Mom, why do you do such damaging things? Marcus channeled his anger into advocacy, volunteering at a teen crisis center. They see their father dutifully reschedule dinners. The relationships are wounded, complex, but intact. Anna has made it clear she will never stay married, nor will she battle him. His actions speak louder than them. Her business has expanded. She's hired 2 jewelry designers. She's working on a boutique in her biggest commission yet. The house is often called the not David's boisterous parties, but her friends, her children's friends, colleagues. There's music, debate, and a platter of cooking in the kitchen. The energy is different, collaborative, authentic, joyful. She has even tentatively begun to date. As solar-haired professor of architecture communications, her work makes her laugh without needing to be the center of attention. It is slow, undemanding. It is a pleasure, not a need. Tonight, she has a small gathering. Lena is here, and Eleanor, and a few close friends. Who had clapped for her that night? In the silent restaurant, they drink wine, eat delicious food, and talk of art, travel, books. The shadow of David is present only as a reference point for how far she has come. Later, as her guests depart with warm hugs, Anna cleans up slowly, enjoying the quiet ritual. She steps back out onto the terrace. The city is a constellation of light below. The bridge is a necklace across the dark water. She thinks of the young woman she was, standing on this raw cliff, dreaming of a sanctuary. She had built it, not just of wood and glass, but of hope and hard work. She had let someone in, had built a life within its walls that had, for a long time, brought her happiness. But when that someone had tried to claim it as his spoil, to use it as the instrument of her defeat, the foundation she had laid alone had held firm. It had given her the ground to stand on when everything else was falling. She raises her glass, a simple gesture now imbued with private, profound meaning to the lights, to the water, to the stubborn, enduring land. Cheers, she whispers to the night, to her past, to her unfolding future. Cheers to my life! And she is, finally and completely free and truly happy. The guillotine he meant for her had, in the end, cleanly severed the chains she hadn't even fully felt. And from that liberation, she was building something new. Something authentically, magnificently her own.